So let's start with extraordinary measures. I would like to skip all things and just tell you how much I hated it. Okay. Don't go to see this movie. Ben will tell you what it's about. We'll all talk about it, but I'm giving you a heads up now. Don't even think about it. All right, go ahead, Ben.
Dramatic story. Brendan Fraser is a father. He's got two kids with a disease. Name escapes me.
Pompeii disease.
Pompeii disease.
Pompeii, yeah.
Nothing to do with the volcanoes.
Nothing to do with the volcano.
They form
Spelled differently.
Muscular dystrophy.
Right. It's what you're. Is it a form? It's a degenerative muscle disease, and it's a very serious disease. He's got three kids. Two of them have the disease. He's a biotech businessman. He's a biotech
marketing
executive.
guy with Bristol Myers.
Right, with Bristol Myers, and he. But his kids are dying of this disease, and he doesn't think there's enough research. He strikes up a partnership with Harrison Ford, a gifted scientist at the University of Nebraska, who is the sort of leading thinker on Pompeii, but he has no interpersonal skills. So, oh my goodness, what a partnership they forge. And anyway, Harrison Ford then works with Brendan Fraser to, who I constantly want to call Breckenmeyer, and they work together, especially when he works for Bristol Myers, for crying out loud. And they work together to try to come up with a disease that will save the lives of tens of thousands of children, and perhaps Brendan Fraser and Kerry Russell's own two kids.
All right, Matt, I don't want to put my thoughts into your review here.
No, of course not.
But how much did you hate it?
You know, I went into this movie not wanting to see it. When we chose this last week, I thought, you know, having read the reviews, the tomato meter's at 30%, which is pretty rotten. The general consensus for most of the critics is, you know, CBS Films' first movie out of the gate.
Looks like, you know, we all made the jokes that it looked like a
TV movie. You know, I was telling friends I have to go see this movie. Who wants to go with me? Somebody says, just wait for it to be on Lifetime.
Right, sure.
You know, that being said, the opening of the movie is kind of interesting. I found, you know, probably about the first half, I actually was engaged. I actually thought, okay, I'm kind of interested, thinking this is, you know, they say inspired by true events, and I'm thinking, okay, I wonder how much of this is true. And it is the story of John Crowley, who...
A lot of it's true.
A lot of it's true, except, to me, one of the big misses here, and I guess you have to do it for dramatic license, is that there's not a doctor that matches up to Harrison Ford's character.
They took a bunch of doctors and turned it into Harrison Ford.
Right, and probably the worst aspects of every other doctor.
Right.
Into one guy.
Right.
And
you
really,
know, that makes, I didn't know that, guys, to be honest with you, and that makes it worse, because then they created this eccentric, zany scientist that no one can get along with, and that makes the movie so much, at least if he was a real person, you say, oh, what a stereotype, but that is what it is. They created it, and it was so hokey and stupid.
You know, my initial reaction when I came out of the film was...
Don't cloud him, Jake.
Okay, sorry.
My initial reaction when I came out of the film was, this movie's harmless. It's, you know, you know, it's not great, but, you know, it's not like I felt like I had to walk out of it. And then the more I thought about it, the more I did some research, I started to get pissed off. Actually.
Oh, that's interesting.
I started to get really, really irked, because I feel like the movie ends up being this kind of almost Valentine to the pharmaceutical industry.
Hell, exactly,
right? Like,
yes.
You know,
this is the anti-Avatar.
There are some scenes in the movie where there's a particular scene where they're meeting with one of the drug firms about a possible buyout, and the guys at the big firm ask, so what are our acceptable losses? What's the money?
Acceptable mortality rates.
Right. What are acceptable mortality rates? And the Crowley character, Brendan Fraser, says something like 25%. Even that would
he's
be
first
okay.
He's insulted by the question, and then he realizes, no, I have to answer this, or these guys
right.
won't fund us.
And so you start to see, yes, there is, you know, but that's as much as, I feel like that's as much as you get about the dark side of the pharmaceutical industry in the entire movie. Where the reality is, this drug ends up being very, very profitable. It's something like $300,000 a year for life, if your insurance company will even pay for it. And to me, what it ends up being is this tale about a guy who, he's not some regular Joe. This in no way is a regular Joe who goes and fights for health care for his children. This is a guy who's an insider. Yeah. And to me, the moral of the story is, if you're an insider in the health industry, you can get anything done.
Maybe you can save your kids.
Right. But if you're just some guy who's driving a truck or you're not connected, F you, buddy.
Right. And, you know, look, then I got to jump in with the things I hated. Okay, the fake drama. Like, they're doing the pitch meeting to the company to get bought. La la la. I'll spare you the details, right? And the guys in the company look at each other during the meeting and they're like, "What do you think? What do you think?" All right, we're going to go for it. You got a deal, right? That's not how the real world works. They don't give furtive glances or sideways glances at people and then make a decision like that. No, they go have a meeting about it. They discuss it.
I thought it was weird when the head of the big competitor to Bristol Myers actually spit in his hand.
Like Deadwood style. It's so dumb. Anyway, and then they go through all the clinical trials, et cetera, in a year. I know it's a plot device. I know it, right? But that's not how the real world works.
They did acknowledge that they were on a massively accelerated timetable, at least.
Yeah, la. And then, yeah, you're right. Brendan Fraser's character, right, Matt? They get the big payout. He gets a nice big house. His kids are still sick.
Yeah,
and when he's got $6 million in his pocket, and he's looking at the nice view with his wife, and he's like, "Isn't this nice? We cashed in on our kids' sickness." So I don't know. Now, look, I'm being too grumpy. I know it. Because if you watch the movie, you'll think, well, of course, it's a sad story. It's an inspirational story, and if you allow yourself to get hooked into it, it's not inconceivable that somebody could enjoy it.
No,
but it's just the acting sucked, and the plot line was so contrived, and I thought Brendan Fraser was terrible.
I don't think the acting sucked. I thought the acting performances were fine, given an incredibly wooden script, and I thought that it was the first time actually in a while where as stereotypical and as hokey the character of that Harrison Ford's character was, it was actually helped by a guy I don't find necessarily to be a great actor, but it was helped by the credibility of it being Harrison Ford.
Well, and I started to feel like I came out of the movie thinking, all right, so that's a new role we're going to see him in, the curmudgeon.
Curmudgeon,
but he's
right,
got that
right,
down.
Right,
Like, okay.
The Leastwood in him.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? I thought I don't necessarily, I hear your criticisms, and it was incredibly hokey. A couple of things I loved is that they would show us establishing shot of Chicago and show signs have Chicago exits. It would say like Chicago Loop, Washington Avenue, and then the chyron would say Chicago. And you'd be like, yeah, I got it. And they do it like 4 times. You drive in, it would turn into, University of Nebraska at Lincoln, or we'd see a sign, Lincoln, 11 miles. That's Nebraska.
Well, but you have to do that, right? Because when you come back from the commercial break, you might be. Oh wait,
that's interesting. It was so ridiculous, insulting. And then the kid the non-sick kid wore 2 T-shirts, one that said basketball and one that said baseball. And then I'm sure I like to believe I'm maybe the only person in the country who saw this because they God forbid you'd pay a licensing right and they live in Seattle and they were wearing anything that said Seahawks or Supersonics or anything like that, right? Or Oklahoma City Thunder. And then there was a shot of Brendan Fraser with the kids at like a family photo on the wall, and I swear to God, he was wearing a T-shirt that said sports.
I didn't see that.
There was something so ridiculously generic about the movie, which is why it seemed like a made-for-TV movie. I went in thinking it would be totally miserable. It was less totally miserable than I thought. That's my offer of a quote. I gave it a C- or a C, and then in the further time I step away from it, then you think, you know what, it was probably a little worse than that. I think you guys are a bunch of ridiculous, sappy liberals ruining this country. You should go back to San Francisco with Nancy Pelosi. One of the things I did actually like about the movie, in all seriousness, was the fact that I hear you that it didn't show the dark side of the drug companies, but you know what? That's all Hollywood does is show the dark side of the drug companies. I got the dark side of the drug companies. I'm on board with the dark side of the drug companies. You know what else they do? And I know you know this, and I know you know it too, Matt. They save kids' lives. And money or not,
True.
They save kids' lives. And like, there's a moment where Harrison Ford is gathered with a bunch of young researchers when they get funding and they start their own company. And he says, look, you're going to eat, live, and breathe for the next, or Brendan Fraser says it, for the next couple of years, all we're going to do is this. This is going to be your life. And you get the impression, you look at these kids who barely have any lines in the movie, and you're like, not these kids, but these young researchers. Like, they're going to have sex with each other in the closet. They're going to order McDonald's. They're going to order Domino's. They're going to live and breathe together. And it's going to be because they want to cure this disease. And that time in their life is going to be awesome. And they're never going to forget it. And I got, honestly, for 4 seconds, I got a little choked up like, I should have done something like that with my life. Like, that's a worthy way to live. And so, I hear you. I like that there.
But I wanted to see more of that.
Totally. From a movie point of view, I'd like a lot more of that.
Now, I will say, to that point, the bit where, he's having trouble getting the teams to talk to each other, when Brendan Fraser's character, Crowley, is having trouble.
The artificial drama where the teams don't talk to each other. Yeah.
Right. And he, as the marketing guy, very, very cleverly brings in sick kids
Right.
for these, kind of theory guys to actually meet. That to me was an effective moment. It's like, okay, that's cool. That worked for me. But I guess I would have liked to see it go more in that direction.
Yeah, it was real. It was. Look, I don't get me wrong. It was really hacky and really hokey. No
All
question.
right. Final grade or letter or whatever you'd like, number.
It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, which I guess is damning with faint praise. I'll give it a 4.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 1.5. And just on the off chance that you just love these kind of melodramatic stories, etc. I mean, look, I'm a sappy dude. And if this story, which is so sad and inspirational, etc., couldn't get me to cry.
No, it didn't get me to cry.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
No, yeah. So I thought it was a failure on all counts, to be honest with you. And the reason I call it an anti-Avatar is, 1, terrible directing. Okay. 2, terrible technical aspects of the movie. There's no 3D, no nothing. It looks like a TV movie,
Nothing
right?
explodes.
3,
Nobody gets
right.
shot.
3, no avatars.
Okay.
Yeah.
And no Navis to be seen anywhere. And 4, it's what Matt alluded to. It's a big sloppy kiss to corporate America. And that's fine. And I agree with you guys. And look, I'm a cold, rational guy in a lot of ways. In some of those scenes, I agreed with the pharmaceutical guys. Hey, look, you know what? That's where you got to test it as much as it hurts, and and you got to make those hard choices. And I think the pharmaceutical companies save lives. And I think it's important. But at the end of that movie, it was so uncritical in so many ways. I thought, is there any chance they paid for this? Like, did the pharmaceutical companies actually funded this movie?
Is there any chance?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
Like, it'd be interesting to.
When it's on TV, let's see who buys the ad.
Yeah, that's true. That would be interesting. I'll give it's everybody for my score will be a lesson in statistical manipulation. I went into this expecting it to be a 2.5, and I'm going to give it a 3.5. Therefore, I think it's 40% better than expected.
And we end on a positive note. All right. So that's extraordinary circumstances. So now,
Extraordinary measures.
whatever the hell. Okay.